Hello, my name is Mushat, and this analysis will compare and contrast two adverts using a cultural framework model. But which one to choose? Trompenaar's model of national cultural differences is a framework for cross-cultural communication applied to general business and management, and has 7 dimensions covering human interaction, time, and the environment. Philip Rosinski's cultural organization framework is designed to assess and compare cultures. It includes a range of cultural dimensions and orientations grouped in 7 categories of practical importance to leaders and professional coaches. For the purpose of this assignment, however, I'm choosing to use Hofstede's cultural dimensions theory. This theory is a framework for cross-cultural communication developed by Gert Hofstede. It shows the effects of a society's culture on the values of its members and how these values relate to behaviour. The original theory proposed 4 dimensions along which cultural values could be analysed. These are the power distance index, and this measures the acceptance of a culture or a society to expect that power is distributed unequally. Individualism explores the degree to which people in a society are integrated into groups. Individualistic societies have loose ties that often relate to an individual or to his or her immediate family. The measure of uncertainty avoidance measures a society's tolerance for ambiguity and the acceptance of differing thoughts versus a society run with strict codes of behaviour. The 4th, masculinity, measures a society's preference for achievement, assertiveness, and material rewards for success, against the opposite, femininity measure, representing a preference for cooperation, modesty, and caring for the weak. In 1991, Hofstede added a 5th dimension, long-term orientation, and this dimension associates the connection of the past with the current and future accidents and challenges. In 2010, a 6th dimension was added, indulgence, and this dimension refers to the degree of freedom that society gives to citizens in fulfilling their human desires. It should be noted that these measures are not absolute. There are no absolute standards, and it is the difference between the countries that can be measured, compared, and contrasted. For this assignment, I'm choosing to compare and contrast the United States of America and Saudi Arabia. And my product will be McDonald's. So using Hofstede's cultural model, we can obtain the scores for the countries in question. But what do these values mean in relation to the societies and cultures in both Saudi and the US? Hofstede cautions us to remember that the interpretation of these dimensions describes a general tendency in each of the societies, and that, although everyone is unique, social control and the normalizing of society ensures that most people will not deviate too far from the expected behaviours as shown by the cultural dimensions model. You will hopefully have had the opportunity to view the adverts, and so I'll provide a quick summary narrative of each. The McDonald's USA advert focuses on one person, a man about to enjoy a burger in a McDonald's restaurant. There follows a montage of scenes highlighting aspects of the man's life: leisure time with a partner, leisure time with friends at a bonfire, or with family when setting the table. And these are interspersed with elements describing the burger's component parts, the smokehouse taste, the spices that combine to make this burger, and the fact that this particular meal isn't part of their standard menu range. The final shot returns to the main character, enjoying the burger alone in the restaurant. The Saudi Arabia advert, in comparison, focuses less on the food, but more on a story of an excited young boy having to wait until the elder member of the family starts to eat. The young boy, although excited, receives his food last, is admonished by his elder brother around his manners and issues of etiquette before enjoying the treat. It's only towards the end of the advert that the components of the food are shown, focusing on the freshness of the vegetables before final shot of the different choices in the Macaribia range. Let's see how these adverts look when we apply the lens of Hofstede's cultural dimensions. De Moy, in referencing Hofstede's cultural dimensions, states that in high-power distance cultures, where elders are respected, ads also tend to refer to generations, for example, fathers and grandfathers who also use the same product or brand. And this can be seen in the Saudi Arabian advert, where we see 3 generations enjoy a McDonald's meal. Operationally, power distance can be shown in the way people interrelate, or by the type of people shown, older against younger. In high power distance cultures, the elder advises the younger, which is witnessed in the Saudi advert, where the older brother gives a nudge and a not so subtle eye movement, informing the younger to wait for the grandfather. In contrast, the USA advert shows no hierarchical structures, and more evidence of equality can be seen. Mixed groups of people around the campfire, family group all assisting in setting the table, playing out that what goes for you goes for me attitude, and that is a factor of having a low power distance value. In this dimension, Saudi Arabia records one of the highest values in the framework. In individualistic cultures, the public tends to be addressed in a direct and personalised way. Words like you, we and I are frequently used. And in the US advert, it opens by asking, where can you find a burger? And ends with, well, you can find it at McDonald's. According to Hofstede, individualism is also associated with a faster pace of life, and this can be seen symbolised clearly by the quick multi-scene montage in the US advert. In collectivistic societies, people do not like eating alone, whereas in individualistic societies, people may cherish their privacy and can be clearly evidenced in both adverts. The American man enjoying his burger alone, and the Saudi family enjoying a meal together. De Moy states that families are depicted in advertising in both cultural types, but in individualistic cultures, adverts rarely show multiple generations that include grandparents. Again, from the adverts, there is little evidence of family in the American version, but definitive evidence of multi-generational family in the Saudi advert. In this dimension, both countries score similarly on the index, and both countries seem to adopt traditional gender roles. In the American advert, it is a man chopping wood while the woman cooks. Similarly, the Saudi advert has the middle male members, the father and son, fetch the food, while the woman reverts to minding smaller children and then distributes the food once it arrives. In this dimension, there is a large differential between the scores, and the adverts do indicate elements of uncertainty acceptance and avoidance. With the Saudi advert, the uncertainty avoidance is shown in a number of ways. Firstly, the need for rules, and that is evidenced by the instances of etiquette and formality around when to start eating. Secondly, the McDonald's Macarabia range is fixed, it's constant, there are no surprises. In addition, De Moy states in high uncertainty avoidance advertising, the competence of the manufacturer must be demonstrated. Showing how a product works with all the technical details is important, and that is part of the commercial towards the end, showing the ingredients and how the meal looks when finished. Conversely, American exhibits an uncertainty acceptance and an openness to accept change and a willingness to try new things. The burger advertised, for example, as a limited edition meal from a range called the Signature Crafted Recipes. There are less rules. Gatherings depicted, albeit briefly, seem to have little or no structure. The group around the bonfire, for example. Here both countries score close and relatively low on the index, exhibiting such traits as a respect for tradition and a belief that the most important events in life occur in the past or take place now. Examples of this dimension in the adverts are hard to determine. Tradition is seen in the Saudi advert, reflected in the clothing and the formality of the serving and eating of the food. The US advert alludes to the fact that the man may be reflecting on the recent good times, and the adherence of social obligations are shown in the clips of the man with his partner at the fun fair and friends at the campfire. In the Indulgence Index, the US scores marginally higher than Saudi, and is therefore deemed to be more indulgent. There are several elements in the US advert to support this. There is the thought that being indulgent relates more to enjoying life and having fun, and numerous examples can be seen. The night out with a partner at the fun fair, with friends at a campfire, and tying neatly in with the high individualism score for the US, an element of self-indulgence while enjoying the burger alone at a restaurant. On the flip side, the lower score of Saudi still means there is an element of indulgence, but that would be slightly more restrained, evidenced by showing the family enjoying a meal in a formal restaurant setting. So, in conclusion, it doesn't require an understanding of any of the cultural frameworks to see the two adverts are different. For me, the US advert is more appealing than the Saudi advert, but that may be as a result of the cultural dimension scores for the US and the UK are more aligned than for the UK and Saudi. In order for an advertising campaign to appeal to the proposed target audience, there would seem to be some merit in taking into account not only the individual scores of the dimensions, but also the influence that some of the dimensions have on each other. As a result, advertisers should consider the cultural framework implications for an ad campaign, carefully aligning the message with the target country's values. This may provide a benefit of both acceptance and acknowledgement of the advert from a perhaps subconscious or subliminal level where the narrative or symbolism used resonates with the viewer and hopefully creates a harmonious appreciation of the product.